This is Andrea with Parking Lot Debrief. All right, here we are. I've got a couple folks here. It's the first time with two people on the podcast. Um, and this today's no, there's no real topic. We're here to just talk. Because I value Sarah and April's point of view about anything and everything. So let's just chat. First, want to tell me who you are, um, what you do, maybe a little bit about yourself. Sarah.
Sure. Sarah Houston, I am a coda as well as a mother to a deaf teenager. He's a boy. My son attends the deaf residential school for the state, Michigan School for the Deaf. I've been interpreting professionally for about 19 years now. And yeah, I think that's about it.
And April, who are you?
Yeah, I am April Davidson, also from Michigan. I run one of our ITPs here in Michigan. I've been interpreting for about 13 years, mostly government and medical. Um, and I think I've known Andrea for almost that whole time. I've known Sarah for the last 5 or 6 years, 7 years, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And you guys work together often
Yeah,
in
kind of.
various
Yeah,
spaces.
kind of. Yeah.
Yeah.
Enough.
Like yeah, I feel like we're in a lot of the bigger stuff together, like big
Hmm.
conferences and stuff. We've talked about that before, Andrea. Like, I think we all love conferences. That's kind of a fun atmosphere to be in.
Yeah, we like the scary work.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, we just kind of brainstorm different ideas to talk about. And the first one that comes to mind is the concept of in this field, it can feel like there's gatekeepers out there, whether that's gatekeepers for newer interpreters, experienced interpreters. Just curious of your thought of who do we think those gatekeepers are? And that, I guess to frame what that means is who gets the work? What spaces are we in? Um, who can make decisions? There's a lot of gatekeeping in all of the aspects. So curious your thoughts of who do we think gatekeepers are? Who are they?
I think that personally, I think a lot of gatekeepers, I mean, I guess they can be part of the deaf community, as in like possible coda or family type thing, who's deaf or something. And then they don't want, they're too scared to let the new people in or, let this new person come and do this work. You know what I'm saying? And as a coda myself, I'm just thinking about that aspect and I can understand it because I'm very protective of my people and what type of services they're getting and things of that nature. So you've got those gatekeepers, and then you've got gatekeepers. So that's on the side of cares too much, right?
Yeah.
And then you got the other spectrum where they don't care at all. They're just trying to fill spaces and warm bodies. You know what I mean? They're just trying to get their paycheck and go home. You know what I mean? And
Hmm.
because maybe somebody else is maybe threatening to them or may possibly call them out on something or something of that nature, then their feelings get involved. And because they're holding these contracts,
Yep.
then you aren't going to get called to come back, even though you might be more qualified, well qualified, the right person for that, the fit for that job. They're not going to do it. They're going to go grab a warm body because they feel like they can't be criticized or yeah, I can't tell what people's feelings are, but for some reason they then take you out of the picture and fill it with another body because they could care less. All they need is a paycheck. So that's my thoughts when it comes to gatekeeping.
I didn't even think of the coda aspect of
I didn't
the
either
I'm
until I said it.
that was good. That was good. Of I can't, of course, there's a protective piece of this is actually my family or friends of my family. Um, and who are you, interpreter, to come in here? I think there's a positive piece to that too, in a way. But yeah, there's a gatekeeping of maybe I won't even let anyone else ever do it.
Hmm.
Yeah. April, thoughts?
Well, it's interesting because when we first brought up gatekeeping, I just because of my experience at an ITP, I always think of the gatekeepers that are letting
Mm,
people into this field or preventing people from coming into this field. And historically, the gatekeepers were the deaf community. And that's how people got interested, started to learn sign language, wanted to go to college. That changed somewhat. And Andrea, I know you and I have talked about this before, where now students are learning their ABCs from vastly hearing people in institutions. Like it's totally different. Um, and so then it's who's ushering in the new generation of interpreters. But I guess when you think about it, there's kind of gatekeepers at all of those different levels. And I also didn't think about the coda aspect, but I love because I totally get that protection. And as a like hearing person, a middle-aged white hearing woman with no deaf family, I get it. Like I'm taking up space. And I value that in my coda friends when they're like, "No, April, this isn't the job for you." Or did we think about bringing somebody else in? Or did you think about this? Because that's just a lens that I don't have.
yeah. There's often an intimidation. This can go off on a coda rant, but just there's often an intimidation if we're in a hospital room with mom, dad, deaf, coda
Mhm.
child who's not there interpreting, and we show up. There is a underlying, oh God, I want to get it right. But I never feel like I'm trying not to show up with ego. I'm trying to show up with like, I don't want you to help me because you're here as a child, as a person trying to be in this space, but like, fe correct me. I'm not,
Yeah.
Mhm.
No,
please.
seriously. I think it's important to do that. I do that. I
Yeah.
remember I was at a job and my client used a sign for throw up that I've never seen before.
Hmm.
Mm.
I've never seen that sign for throw up. I was grateful that their child was there
Yeah.
because they said throw up. And I'm like, thank you. And then I made a point to tell them, because sometimes I'm sorry, I'm sorry. No, 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 no. That's your mama. That's your
Yes.
dad. You know things that I don't know, even as a person with deaf parents of my own. You still know those things. So please, if you see something that I messed up or I didn't see because some things are home signs, and so they've got their own things, but that's what their parent uses, you know what I mean? And so I'm grateful for codas in a room, and I make sure that I make it a point to say, if you see something, please let me know. I will not get offended. That is your parent. You know them better than I do. You know their signs way better than I do and how they speak and think. I welcome them, and I make sure
Yes.
that they know they're welcomed. You know what I'm saying? And that I think that a lot of people are intimidated by codas. You know what I mean? And I would just say, give a person a chance because they're not always. I think I'm better than you. You know what I mean? It's not always that. And just trying to take that in and just listen to their experiences and things that they have. Interpreter codas, those type of
Mhm.
things as interpreters. Just listen to their perspectives and their things, because we see a lot of things that other people don't see. So yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, and if I can, like, I value my coda friends for a lot of reasons. Like, they're not just my friends because they're codas. But and maybe it took, now that I think about it, like probably years in this field and a level of comfort and confidence before I felt like maybe they felt comfortable and I felt comfortable accepting whatever that was. Like I know the codas that are closest to me can say, I'm gonna I'm gonna censor myself for your podcast, but can say, "What the hell are you doing, April?"
Right.
Or "Yup, not your best day," or like, and I accept those things because I also know that like they value me as a friend, and I like we can have those conversations. But when I first started in this field, CODA scared the hell out of me
Yeah.
because I was like, you have a place, and I'm just walking in there like my little hearing interpreter self, hoping I do it right. But it's just, I think, an easy, you hear coda and you think, oh crap. And it's easy to be immediately intimidated.
At the beginning of my career, for sure, because
Hmm.
that's what I was kind of taught, but I was never, I can't say. I don't know that I've ever been exposed to a coda who made me feel like, why, why do you have all this? Like, I've never had an experience where I've had my feelings hurt or offended by the fact of who you are. Like, I don't know. I love working with, I have plenty of CODA colleagues that are friends that they're like, you're really great at A, B, and C, and I'm really great at X, Y, and Z. So why don't you take care of A, B, C, and I'll take care of X, Y, and Z,
Mm-hmm.
and we'll work great together because I'm catching all the words, but you say it nicely. So how about I just fill you in? Like it was just, there's just a really, it's nice when you can have those direct conversations.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we went off on a coda tangent. Thanks. I
We
love it.
did. Yay.
Um, but yeah, gatekeepers, it made me also think of agencies.
Mhm.
Agencies, I feel like, are a huge gatekeeper or the gatekeeper, just in terms of services, of who, of when, of what. Um, and as you said, our colleagues, people who either have contracts or a lot of my work comes from, hey, are you available Tuesday? Like it's from our friends. And I tell this to people in workshops and students that like your name means everything. Your name, how you act, do you want others to work with you? That then others become gatekeepers for you in terms of what work you get. Um,
So one of the things I don't like about that, and I think Sarah and I might be on the same page with this one, is I think that's true, 100% what you said, but there's also a little bit of like, oh, I'm going to ask this group of people first because they're easy to work with. They're not going to challenge me. They're
ah,
not going to question whether I'm the right person for the job. They're not going to say, oh, you should bring in somebody else. And so there's a little bit of like, yes, you want to be easy to work with, but at the expense of the integrity of the work. Eh.
yeah.
But I feel like there's some of that. Like there's some people that are just, oh, that's a sweet person, so I'm going to bring them on, but they're not qualified to do that work.
Or they're easily convinced to do
Mhm.
something that they're not qualified to do. So I'm going to bring this person on because they're just eager to take up work because they need money, and it doesn't matter. They're not going to ask the questions. They're not going to do this. They're not going to do that. You know, a lot of times as Black interpreters, we are only looked at a particular time of the year. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
that's when you're looking for me. But, what about all this other times or even other spaces? I recently went into a space where it was a Black space, and my team was a white person, and it bothered the shit out of me. Like
Mhm.
it really did. And I understand that we don't have a lot in this state of Michigan.
Mhm.
We have 25 people who have certification in the state of Michigan who are Black. Of those
Mhm.
25, I want to say about 10 of them can actually go out and work. I think most of them are in the educational field.
Mhm.
And I think about 10 of us actually have like a BEI 2 or one or two, 1 to 2. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? About 10 of us have that. So it's about 10 of us that can actually go out and work. So I do understand that we are lacking and slacking, but I think a lot of times the agencies don't put in the work.
Mhm.
I'm not going to say that about this particular agency because I checked, I called around and found out that they put in the work. They tried. So,
Mhm.
as long as you try, I'm okay. But, but yeah, so that's hard for me. It's hard for me because, like, even in this instance, there was something that was said that this interpreter did not catch. They didn't get it. They didn't understand the nuance of it because you don't live it. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And people need to understand. I think it's very important that you don't take space in those spaces, regardless if you can't find anybody else, to be honest, because your presence as a white person in this Black room has completely changed the dynamics of the room.
Yep.
Oh, I'm just neutral. I'm just an interpreter. You are a white person in a room. So they're not going to say what they would say. Let me say for the exact instance that happened in this situation. The lady said, they work together when they don't even like each other. If the white person wasn't in the room, she would have said, y'all know white people work together even though they don't like each other. But she only said they. it completely changed because they want to, not offend the white person in the room. But you've
Mhm.
actually made this safe space not
Not safe.
safe anymore.
Yep.
So the rhetoric of, well, oh, there's just not enough. I have to. Sometimes I just feel, I mean, of course, defer to your client. You know what I'm saying? If the client says, I don't care, I just need an interpreter, I'll take whatever, then do that. Absolutely. But, think twice about these jobs that you're taking and the places and spaces that you're in, because we are dominated by white women. You know what I mean? And so it's easy for them to take, well, it's just, nobody can cover it. We can fill it, So yeah, that was just something that just kind of recently came up. And it was just like, how many times does this happen? How many spaces, Black spaces, are taken up, or distorted or no longer becoming safe because our presence is in the room as a white interpreter.
And especially just to the point of Black spaces. It's not saying every time you have a Black client, deaf client, it has to be a Black interpreter because, like, I think that's where white interpreters are like, well, I can't. And I'm like, no, and immediately it came to mind if there was a women's group about women things and there was a male interpreter, it wouldn't feel good. So, like,
No.
that's the only thing I can draw to compare and understand. And I'm like, okay, yeah, understandable. You have not lived this, man. So, like,
Hmm.
it's same opposite. If it was a male group, I'm not comfortable. It changes the vibe.
Hmm.
And so I'm just, I like that these conversations are coming up because I'm just so sick of whispering about these conversations and being like, well, I don't know why it's so scary just to say. And I'm always one asking, like, well, I don't want to tokenize anyone and I don't want to make sure, I want to make sure I fill spaces and have diversity. But like, your name is on my list because you're a good interpreter, like, period. And you're on the list of all the jobs that I may say, hey, can you in the first place. And I think that's the main point. You're trying to, I would say, like, don't just call me in February. Like, don't just call me on Martin Luther King Day, that type of thing. Um, yeah. Because white
Oh
interpreters
yeah,
are talking with each other about it to make
I
sure
made a
we're
whole
not
post on that one
good.
because it's just like, don't. And people see that. We see that. We see you only calling me for these particular things, when
Mhm.
I know where my skill level is. You know what I'm saying? I know. I mean, you can call it what you want to call it. I call it confident in myself. I know where I'm at. I know where I stand. I know how these hands work. I know what, you know what I'm saying? I know all of that. So, yeah, it's just interesting, when people pick and choose, what they want to use you for or whatever. I mean, let me back it on up. I am in a great place. Let me make this clear. My state, I don't know about nobody else, y'all. I don't. And I brag on my state all the time because I hear all these horror stories about this competition and da 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 da. But let me tell you, my people that I hang out with, my interpreting friends, good people. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Good fucking people. They just good people. They, and I have more white colleagues than I do have. Well, yeah, I do because right, the numbers are there, right? So you know what I'm saying. But I try to make a point to know all of my Black interpreters in this state. I do try to make a point to do that. But yeah, yeah. I lost my train of thought. I'll be back with it.
So, but I love that, like you said, Andrea, that we're having these conversations out loud. But how do we get the decision makers to have these conversations? I don't think agencies are having these conversations. Maybe they
They
are,
don't care. They
right?
why?
Because
Why
it's your
why?
body,
Even the ones that are
right?
supposed to be nonprofit for them and stuff, they don't care. When issues are being brought to the table, they're ignoring them, it's just I hear a lot as a person
Mhm.
who, takes I host a Zoom meeting for Black interpreters. Um it's open to anybody. Anybody can come. Find Sarah Houston on Facebook, first Saturday of every month. Any Black person who's interested in the field or in the field or whatever is more than welcome to come and join me. But, it's just,
And
yeah.
students, I'll put that out
And
there.
students. Yeah,
She's
anybody
great
interested
about,
in the
yeah.
field, is interested in the field or already in the field.
Yep.
So either you're a student or you're looking to be one, whatever. I try to get them all in because we need more of
Just to
us.
chit chat, talk about what's going on.
Yeah, we just talk. There's no set agenda. There's never a set agenda. It's, if kids are in school and they feeling kind of weird, or they might be seeing, or just anything in general, they check in with me, April tell you if it's something that I hear, I'll be like, hey, what you doing over there at LCC? You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm comfortable enough with my colleagues, with April, and the people who run the ITP programs here in the state of Michigan, where I don't mind bringing something to their attention that
Good.
needs to be brought to their attention. Same
Mhm.
time I talk with these kids, or students or whatever, and give them, like, I don't have to step in or nothing. Let me give you the tools and what you should do. This might work. This might work. This might work. That type of thing. So
That's
yeah.
awesome. We
But that's
need
what I was
it.
saying. I was saying I love my colleagues because I hear
Yeah.
horror stories all over in other states about competitions and all this stuff. And let me tell you, the people in the state of Michigan, we have each other's back.
That's
We
awesome.
really do. We just, I have never, I can really truly count on less than one hand interpreters that I don't mess with. You know what I'm saying? That
Mhm.
I don't have a decent friendship with. You know what I'm saying? I just think this community here is just amazing in general,
And
for
I
sure.
think that's why when we talk about like the gatekeepers that abuse the system and aren't open to doing the right thing, it's because they're maybe the loudest, they're getting the most work, but there are not a lot of them because for the most part, I agree. Like the actual individual colleagues I work with, the list of people that I won't work with again is very short.
Hmm.
Uh, and I mean, I might not be best friends with everyone I work with, but we're all pretty professional and we can show up and do a good job and take a feed and be supportive. And for the most part, like it's great. I do love the people I work with. So, which is why when there's one or two that are going around being very weird about who they're picking for the work, and it has nothing to do with who should be in the room based on skill or individual, and instead based on warm body kind of stuff, that's when it's so frustrating because it's a few people that are kind of ruining that part, not ruining, but they're causing problems for that part of the field when I feel like there's a lot of good interpreters in Michigan. Like we got a lot of good people doing the work. And so when a couple of people get a little bit of power and decide you're not on my preferred list, you can't come back in the room. Like it's just
But I try
that's
to think as
frustrating.
myself as a gatekeeper. I
Mm-hmm.
do have my list of people but I also know so and so is really good at this, and they're kind of, I don't really like them, but they're good at this. So I'm gonna
Yeah.
ask her. Um,
And my list changes. Like I imagine your list
yeah,
changes. Like I have my preferred interpreters and then I work with someone new and I'm like, oh damn,
yeah.
they're really good. Like
And I
they're
w
going on my preferred list. Yeah.
and I was in Michigan for the first 10 years of my career, and I don't think I knew what I had until I left it and compared it to other communities.
Mm,
Because I left
mm,
it and I was like, I need to grow and I need to see different. And it's not, I didn't really have an opinion. I don't even know what I thought. I don't think I thought much. But then I moved to Austin, which is an amazing community. And then I moved here to Colorado, which I feel like is behind Michigan in many
Mhm.
ways, in terms of many things. Um, in terms of size and people, I feel like Michigan and Colorado, I know nothing. Don't quote me. Don't Google this. But like in terms of size and people and what we have, similar-ish. Um, but Michigan felt smaller and more at home, and I knew people. It feels very connected regardless of the cities being farther across the state. It felt very connected and everyone kind of meant well. And I'm not saying some communities don't, but there's a lot of not giving a shit. There's a lot of that. And I felt like a lot of people gave a shit in Michigan, which I think really matters.
mm.
Yeah,
I also feel like maybe it's gotten better in the last 10 years. Like I
maybe.
was just beginning when you were still here. But I feel like it was much more siloed then. Like it feels like there's more connection. It feels like there's more at least with the ITPs, like we actually all communicate now and like talk about the work, and that's not something that used to happen in my understanding. It used to be everyone was very separate. So I feel like maybe I don't know if that was a pre-COVID or post-COVID thing, but I feel like the community itself is a little more connected.
Yeah. Which made me think of gatekeepers, of often money as a gatekeeper.
Mhm.
Um, of what work I'll take, what work I won't take. I'm a gatekeeper as an agency, and I'm gonna hire the cheaper person, just to, and that just leads into the next topic we all kind of thought of knowing our worth, why we're paid what we're paid, why we ask to be paid what we're paid. And that's a thing that I can compare in my career of the places I've moved. And uh, it varies wildly
Mhm.
of what folks will pay. And now that we're virtual, it makes it even more complicated. But yeah, putting that on the table now of like knowing our worth. But there's such a fine line because some people over exaggerate their worth. So I don't really know how to like,
Like knowing your worth, but yet you're looking at somebody that's charging $100 an hour. You're
yes,
like, no,
right.
you ain't got no business charging $100 an hour.
How is that gauged? How is that determined?
Mhm.
It's
Ah,
not. Everybody's just doing their own thing. You know what I'm saying? Everybody's just trying to see what they can get away with. You
that
know
away with,
what they can get away with.
which
Yeah.
feels
But I
icky.
do like that, like, there is a little bit of conversation. Like, for example, like, Sarah, you
Yes.
texted me around the beginning of the year and like, I'm thinking about doing this with my rate. What do you think? Like, I like that we'll have those conversations. I just did a couple day in a row online gig, and I immediately, as soon as I found out who the team was, what are you billing for this? What does this look like? I don't want to undercut anybody. I also don't want to be the one that they're undercutting. Like I'm like, okay, we've been doing this about the same amount of years. We're about the same amount of skill set. What are you doing? Like, let's have those conversations. Because I don't want a brand new graduate coming out and going, oh, this is how much you charge. Great. That's how much I'm going to charge. That's also a tough one because and I love to do that. We've got a level one. This is a pretty basic job. I need a team. Great. Bring in a level one that's new to the field. They've got support. It's a safe space. They're qualified for the work. But then when we're billing, I recognize that the hiring entity goes, huh, this new person bills a lot less than she does. So
That's
then
why
that
I will put my team up on what I'm charging.
do you? So
That's
I
one of
think
my
we
I
want to
do.
talk
questions.
I will
about
put
that.
my team up if it's like I've taken some BEI ones with me on a
Hmm.
job where I charge 75. And I just tell them, hey, charge 75 for this job. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? It's just as simple as I definitely don't want them under, you know what I'm
Right?
saying? Because then they'll think they're better or whatever or whatnot, or the prices is better. And they definitely, when they're younger like that, they don't know what to bill anyway. They don't
Right?
know where to really go with that. They're mostly working for agencies who are paying peanuts.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So they don't know not to charge, this is not a $30 an hour job. This is, you know what I mean? This is not a 40, that type of a thing. So that's what I will put up the young ones that I bring with me onto a job. I just tell them what I bill for it. I'm billing this for it. Go ahead and bill what I'm billing.
Because that's my question, and that's always my argument. I go do a tough job, and someone's not levels below, but like not at this, not with the certifications, not with the years of work or whatever. I'm like, but we just did the same job. Like
Right.
we just did the same work. So I struggle within myself of like, but I got a master's degree and I have these certifications and I have more experience, but you just carried your own weight also. So like what I never know the right answer because I worked hard to get to this number. You should too, like not that feeling, but it's a then how are we all not charging the same? Like it's really hard for my brain to
I
rationalize and
really
figure
hate
that
that
out.
it's such a hush hush
Yes.
thing for this for our field. Like I just don't understand why everybody don't want to say nothing.
Right?
Then I look at the agencies who want to pay pennies and not pay me nothing. You know what I'm saying? When I know my worth is more.
Hmm.
It's just to the point where I'm not even working for any agencies.
Same.
I don't work for any
That
agencies
doesn't
unless I want to, which means somebody's asked for me directly,
Yeah.
or it's maybe a community event that I just want to go see all my people. You know what I'm saying? I go
Hmm.
do that. You know what I'm saying? But it's just to the point where I can't sit here and work for you or sit at the hospital all day and make what the heck I'm making a 2-hour session online. You know what I mean? Like, I can't do that.
Mhm.
The agencies aren't realizing our worth and that they could be charging more. Sometimes I don't know what they're charging. You have some agencies that are charging an arm and a leg and still paying pennies to their interpreters. You have other agencies who are barely charging what are charging less than what the same agency gonna pay me. I'm
Right.
in a spot where a agency is getting paid less than what I'm paid from the same business.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So so some of them are just you're cheating yourself out of stuff because you're scared you're going to lose business if you up your money. Where
Yep.
the other ones are charging, like I know of I can't think of who it was. You know me, I'll name a name real quick. But there's another agency that charges like $250 per person per hour,
I've heard
and
that.
they only paying their interpreters $30 an hour.
I heard
Wow.
that too. It's one of the lowest paying agencies in the state.
No
And they
way.
charge so much per hour per interpreter. I heard that from a couple people and I was like, no. And they're like, no, 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 we confirmed. Blows my mind. But I also like looking at the agency rates. There's a lot of discrepancies that some pay for your level of certification and some pay based on what the job requires. So like
Right.
we're right.
Ooh,
So
that's
so
true.
of course we're struggling with that same thing. Do I charge for like my levels of certification or like this is a super basic job that doesn't require a BEI master? So am I charging
55. Right.
I pretty much have a standard rate that I'm flexible on a little bit one way or the other, but I'm still like, is it on me or is it on the job? I don't know what the state we don't there's no standardization for that as far as I know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I
I didn't
don't we
even.
don't have large scale. We have these conversations and I
Right.
love it. And I actually try to have them with the students too because I'm afraid of what you just mentioned, Sarah, that I know these students go out there and they used to be working minimum wage jobs and they're like, "Oh my God, $35 an hour." Yes. And they don't think about the fact that you have to pay your own taxes, social security, like all of these things. $35 an hour is peanuts at the end of the day, but to them, $35 an hour is a hell of a lot more than they were making at their last job. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
trying to introduce, if nothing else, then to remove the shock value from what they're going to be making and have help them see the big picture. But also, I want them to ask when they're out in the field. I want them
Mm-hmm.
to ask what a good rate is because we and Sarah and I talk about this all the time, but we have a serious problem in education in Michigan. I mean, we don't have enough educational interpreters. The gatekeeping thing is huge. The number of graduates I've had come back and say, but the agency told me, or the school district told me, if it's not me, that poor deaf kid will not have an interpreter. And
Mhm.
I'm like, I need to breathe for a minute before we have this
Mhm.
conversation because it just triggers all the anger. But it's the same thing. Or, well, they're going to hire me, but I'm going to be a language facilitator and it's going to be like 12 bucks an hour or 15 bucks an hour. And I'm like, no, this is why you need to know what all of the other K-12 interpreters are making. This is why you need to know why we don't take jobs that are called language facilitator. It has to be called an interpreter. But they don't know that stuff if we don't tell them because nobody out in the field, I don't know anybody in K-12 that's sitting down having those conversations with new interpreters.
No. It made me think of, you mentioned you have a bunch of direct contracts and not through agencies. That is so a very a luxury of certain communities because that is not what can happen here, at least
Mm-hmm.
because I'm a newbie who came in for the last handful of years and there's no infiltrating any other space like that.
Mhm.
I feel like in Michigan, once if you started there and you came up or you came up in a community, it's a little easier. Um, but there are the interpreterinncome.com,
I haven't heard of
interpreter
this.
income survey. I'm interviewing them. They will have a podcast episode. CJ
Okay.
and Steve are doing research. It's open now, I think now, right now it's February till April. And it is trying to just get information about where we're at, what we make, why. I don't even know the questions on it. But there's that. And then Cameo did the interpreter shortage study in Arizona. And that was a lot of information of, at least from the numbers she could figure out, interpreters in the last 10 years have increased their pay rate by 8%. And I Googled it, and it's supposed to be 3 to 4% every year,
Just for cost of living,
just
right?
for life.
Yeah.
So, and then agencies have increased their profits by 50%.
Mhm.
And in the end, it just makes me think,
And ain't paying us shit.
and I get, and I get they have to do their negotiations and they have to figure out and compete with other agencies and they have to do their part too. But you all wouldn't exist if I wasn't here to do the job also, and we wouldn't be here without the deaf community. So it just is, I don't know, there is no regulation. There is no one up top telling and
Right.
helping. And I don't know where and how that would be. Um,
I mean, and let me say, it just what people will pay you.
right.
Mhm.
All over the board.
I have a direct pay job that told me they paying me $170 an hour.
Why?
Good for
Okay.
you.
You say okay.
Okay. Right? Like,
If you insist.
so it's all across the board. There isn't a standard, but I think that a lot of times we shortchange ourselves.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
So there's still the
Because
scarcity. We're still a little
there's
worried.
people out there that are like, oh yeah, this is what I'm paying you. I didn't ask. You told me you were paying me this. This isn't a deaf run company. This isn't a company that has anything to do with deaf people. They just want
Hmm.
to provide access.
Mm-hmm.
So I
Yep.
think
Yep.
we shortchanging ourselves a lot.
Well, because I think there's still a little bit of like, will the work dry up? Like if I don't take what they're offering, even though we know that the numbers are in the other direction right now, like we know there's a shortage. And maybe that has something to do with us having the power to raise our rates about to where they should have been after all of this cost of living. But I think the issue is then you have these agencies saying, well, we can't get enough interpreters to contract with us. So obviously we don't have enough interpreters. And I do believe there's a shortage, but I also think there's a break in the system. There's
All
no
right.
good way to communicate. Agencies can't get enough interpreters because they're not willing to pay interpreters what they're worth. So interpreters are charging more independently. So why in the world would I even consider taking what the agency is offering? The agencies won't work together and they won't
It's,
increase their rates. So it's
yep.
like they're perpetuating this system of not enough. But I know interpreters that are sitting at home waiting for the work. There's no good way of communicating with everybody that there's work out there because the agencies want to hold on to their network. They don't want to share. The interpreters want to hold on to their jobs, of course. So it's just a lot of like, I think we can do better. I don't know how we
Yeah.
do better, but we can do better because I know that there are deaf consumers that are still not getting filled appointments. They're not getting interpreters for their doctor's appointments.
Let me talk about
They're
another.
hearing
That
from
reminds me,
agencies. What's that?
another form, another form of gatekeeping
Mm-hmm.
is interpreters who have contracts with these direct contracts with these doctors' office, and they're
Yeah.
the only interpreter that they
Uh,
use.
Yeah.
and they fit it to
So
their schedule
you
often.
can't go to the doctor because I'm about to go on vacation for 2 weeks.
Yes. I know plenty of stories like that, and I
Yeah.
hate
You
it.
know, that's something to talk about. Like, how dare you play with a
Right.
deaf person's life and health like that? Like,
Yeah.
who do you think you are? Would you want somebody playing with your mama's life like that? Or your dad's life like that? Like, come on, these are human beings.
Mm-hmm.
Find a colleague, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let them know, hey, well, for here in Michigan, hey, there's a list. There's a
But they'll
whole
steal
interpreter
it.
directory.
They'll steal my contract, and it's
That's
mine.
right here.
And that deaf
That's,
person's mine.
oh, we only contract with this. Well, that's not what the law says. And
Right.
then the agencies aren't even instructing them on the law that says after we can't fill it, you've got to call this person and that person and that. You got to go on the list and find your own. They don't do that. They just say, oh, nobody's available.
Yep.
Yep. And
Yep.
all of that's happening behind the scenes without the deaf consumer's knowledge or the
Yep.
deaf patient. And they're just like, we don't have anyone available.
And I'm like,
There's no
I
one for your
was.
appointment.
No one asked me. Like, you know what I mean? Uh,
Or they'll use, oh, this doggone interpreter shortage.
I
It's
know.
just really messing up everything.
yeah.
And it's like, no, it's really your pay. Nobody
Mhm.
wants to work for that little piece of change.
It
That's
is.
why I'm torn on this. Like, I want better data on how much this interpreter shortage is. I've seen a lot to show that in K-12 we absolutely have a shortage. We don't have enough qualified EIPA 4.0 interpreters in K-12. Like, I've seen a lot of data about that, but freelance, I don't know, because you have those agencies muddying the waters. You have those interpreters that are like, they're going to have to hold off on their chemo appointments until I get back from my
Mm-hmm.
2-week vacation because they're afraid to lose the work. When I wish they'd realize, like, if they have someone to share that work with, that person will probably share other work. Like, we can all work together rather than just white knuckling the jobs that we have.
Yes.
And obviously at the detriment to the deaf patient. So, like, I don't know. I don't know.
It's
I'm just not sold on this overall shortage. I don't know.
yeah. What's hard is like I always ask agencies like what matrix or what table are you using to determine who gets paid what at what level?
Mhm.
And often, years of experience, certification, degree, personal experience, cultural match, all these things are considered. Um, but in the end, what was the motivation for me to get my master's degree? What's the motivation for someone to move up in certification if pay is all over the place and you're new and you already get 65? Why would someone even strive for more? Um, it's a weird catch 22 of, and we've had
Yeah,
these
Michigan's kind of
conversations,
unique in that. Like, Michigan, our law is pretty strict, so you can't do a lot as a BEI basic.
right?
Like, you're really pretty limited, which I'm not opposed to at all. I think there should be some pressure to move up in certification. And the BEI is an affordable test in comparison to the NIC or the EIPA. So I
Right.
think we should be making that encouragement. But also, you're going to go take that test once, maybe twice, and agencies are going to go, "Oh, you just moved from 3750 to 40." Like, it's
Mm-hmm.
going to, it's this minuscule jump.
Yep.
That reminds me, one of the agencies just sent me a letter. I'm like, "Oh, you got a $2 pay raise." I was like, oh, that's so nice. And then I talked to Mitch, and he's he's a master, right? He's a BEI master. Is he a BEI
Yeah.
master?
Yeah.
Yeah, BEI master. And he's like, yeah, well, I got three.
Yeah, $3.
And and I don't
Right?
know what the appropriate like pay is or what should be, but it's a specialized field.
Hmm.
There's specific areas of knowledge and skill involved, and I don't know. I feel like the remember $40,000 was a lot of money in like the middle class normal amount. I feel like
Mhm.
60, 70, 80,000 is the new 40,000. So I'm like, I don't know why we aren't. And I felt like interpreting as a skill and as a specialty is above average in terms of should be up well above average in terms of
Good.
pay. So
And most of us are freelance, which
it's an
means
hourly work.
you're not
Right.
getting benefits, you're doing the hustle. Like, you
Yes.
still have to figure out retirement and insurance and all that stuff on your own. So it's a totally different, and I don't know any interpreters that are truly hands up 40 hours a week.
We can't.
No, like, that's
Yeah.
Other than VRS. You,
I don't
you,
know
you
how they
got
do that for 40 hours
Bless.
a
folks
week.
in there doing 40 hours a week now. You do there.
Can't. Um, Moving to the last topic that at least we have here, it kind of ties in with working with
Mhm.
students and working with newer interpreters, the concept of eating our young or not pulling people up or um, not making space for newer interpreters or, yeah, just that concept of making sure we open the door as we've walked through it to hold it open for those behind us. How, when, thoughts?
For me, and if I see how do I say this? I bring them along. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? I just bring them with me. If there's something that I'm doing that is maybe public, probably don't have no deaf people there. You know what I mean? I mean, come on, y'all know we do this. No deaf people there, so the risk is kind of low. I try to bring my BEI ones with me. Now, I'm gonna be clear, and I'm not trying to be funny about nothing. but I work with Black students. That's just who I work with. That's who I mentor. That's who
Yeah.
I, you know what I'm saying? I
Yeah.
don't, because there's very few of us and we're so limited that I just feel like everybody else can take everybody else.
Yeah.
Definitely that. So I will bring a BE. I have done it a couple of times and bring them on with me to do that work, to get their hands up, to get that practice in, you know what I'm saying? Or that, safe space where they've got me to be able to feed or whatever and whatnot like that. But I do believe in making sure that us who have the job, if there is an availability for somebody where there's a lower risk, that the risk isn't so high, that we should make that space for those so that they can get better. Because how else are they going to get better? You know what I mean? If they're stuck in the same places all the time and they're not getting to be
Yeah.
able to see other stuff, you know what I'm saying, and figure out, what it looks like and what it feels like and that type of thing. So I make it a point that when I do have these open, things that aren't really that they have me there for access, you know what I'm saying, I bring them with me.
Mm-hmm.
Or
In the
just say, hey, or there was another job where they had reached out to me and asked me to do the job, and I was like, yeah, okay, who's my team? And then they threw out 2 names of uncertified people. And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
like, now, if they want to volunteer and help, that's great. That's fine. But I need a certified interpreter. This needs a certified interpreter. And then I was able to bring in a colleague who doesn't do a lot of work outside of school. You know what I'm saying? She is a BEI too, but she's in the schools, you know what I'm saying? So I was like, why don't you tap on to her and see if she wants to do this job? You know what I'm saying? And so I like to do that type of stuff. I like that, That's where I am as far as I don't want to eat our young. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I want to foster a safe environment for them to build their skills.
Yeah.
in a in a space that you know is safe. You're not going to
Mm-hmm.
throw them into some conference that is
Mm-mm.
terrifying and they're going to drown and you've set them up for failure, obviously. Um, and then spaces that you can bring someone. The hard part is I don't have those direct contracts. So I'm like, hey, agency, give me, I'm always in every note, I'm like, if there's jobs that are it, community college comp 101 for a full semester, put me with someone who's new so we can get a whole 16 weeks to figure this out. And it's not happening often. I know that's an extra lift for agencies to like be attentive to those like specific things.
But
And some
if they're
agencies
gonna,
do
if they wanna, if they want to raise more interpreters too, then that part of that is
have
on
to. Hmm. Yeah, those spaces, the ability to take them in, that's the hardest part is I feel like I don't have those direct contracts to choose my team
them.
often. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Sarah and I have the same philosophy about that. And it's different coming from education. Like, I know a lot of the new ones, so I
Yeah.
do reach out to a lot of new interpreters. The only time I get really frustrated is, and I don't care how new they are, but if you take a job that you know you're not qualified for. And I don't just mean like you think you're good enough, but you're not, but like, in Michigan, our law is very, very clear, and we've got a chart that says exactly what you can do. So if this is a BEI advanced NIC, whatever, standard level 2, we call it job, and we just had this happen at actually our students were in this situation where they were like, oh well, this person is actually only a BEI basic, but this is a job that requires a BEI advanced. And so we reached out to my colleague and I, because our students were involved, reached out to the gentleman and was like, oh well, this is the deal, like, can we just see what's going on? And the response was really, I think I know my skills and I'm
Mm.
qualified to be in this room. So, your face is exactly what was happening inside of me. And I was like, oh, I don't think we get to just decide that we have good enough skills. So in those situations, that's probably the only time where I feel like I'm not making excuses for horizontal violence, but I have those moments where I'm like, oh, no, no, you're not helping the field. Like, you're actively hurting the field. If you're
Yeah,
just
get
trying
your
to get
ego
better,
out the damn way. Nobody asked you what you thought. Did you ask a deaf person what they thought? How about
right,
that?
Mhm.
Nobody
right.
asked you what you thought.
And I'm
you
happy
just,
to mentor. I'm happy to mentor. But if you show up as my team and you're not at the right certification level, now I'm carrying a weight that I didn't know I was going to have to carry,
That.
right? Like if I
Oh,
know that it's a job and I'm bringing in a BEI basic, great. This is part of pulling up the field with us. I have no problem with that. But if I go in and I know it's a heavy lift and I expect you to be able to lift 50% of it with me and you
yes.
can't, then I'm like, this isn't fair to
Yes.
anybody involved. The deaf consumer is going to notice the difference. They're not going to get the access that they had expected, rightfully so. So those I have an issue with. But we know this is probably true of any field, but it's ego. As soon as ego gets
Which
involved,
is fear.
it is. Yep. It's fear masked, absolutely.
Yes.
And as soon as that happens, that also means that person is probably not open to feedback,
Right.
probably not open to support. If I feed you something and I'm pretty sure, like I'm confident, I wouldn't be feeding you if I wasn't confident, and you decide that you're not going to take it because you feel like some sort of way.
I'm sorry. I'm laughing because we happen to be together when something like
I
that
know.
exactly happened.
Yeah, I know. I was like, I know, we're thinking about the same thing. So then I'm like, which isn't exactly eating your young, right? I'm like, if everybody showed up with a healthy dose of humility, I
Yes.
think we can all work together and get along just fine. But it's the people that show up in those spaces with their ego first that I don't have any patience for. And we do, of course, like that we've got some seasoned interpreters that I don't think that they have anything. I don't think it's necessarily that they have something against new interpreters. I think it's,
Yeah. What is it that, why don't people bring on mentors? I mean, I have a thought, but like, why do you think people are like,
I don't know. I
I
mean,
think it's fear. I don't think
their
they
own
want,
fear.
I've got plenty of people because I bring on students virtually to observe, and I've got plenty of people who are like, no, they won't let students observe.
Hmm.
Um, and there's some other reasons here and there. I've had black interpreters say no, and I've had black interpreters say, are the students and students of color? And I'm like, that's all, and that I understand. But there's been some where they're like, but what are they looking for? And I'm like, just to watch the work. And in that screams insecurity and fear of judgment from a newbie. And
I mean, if you're gonna be scared about what a newbie thinks, maybe this
you
shouldn't be
should
your field.
you should care what the deaf person's thinking. Like,
Yeah, that should be what you care about.
right. And I often tell students they'll say like who their mentors are and all that, and they'll name some mentors, and I'm like, yeesh, some of these people should not be mentoring. But then I think students students need the need the exposure to
No,
crappy people too. They
no,
need
I
to
do
see
think,
the wrong way or see a way and go, ooh. Or they may align with it. I don't know. Maybe they don't match with me, and that's totally
yeah,
fine. But I think bad mentors are good exposure too.
they can be as long as they're debriefing with somebody else, because otherwise,
That they
students don't
take
know what a
it.
good mentor and a bad mentor is.
Right.
Yeah,
It's
I
tough.
do. I do think there's a little bit though, and I remember this when I first got in the field. I have my ideas, and I won't name names, but I have my ideas of where it came from. But there is, historically speaking, some issues with students graduating in ITP and feeling like they've had this great education and they know more than they do. And they did go out there and judge interpreters harshly based on what they learned in a very controlled environment
Right.
in a classroom. And so then interpreters were like, and knowing that those students then go back and talk about those situations in their classroom. And so I understand why that feels a
Go for
little,
it. Don't
ugh,
care.
right,
F
right.
off. Like I just like I don't really care.
But we
Like
really talk to students about that. Like, you don't get to go out and say, like, our big number one thing is you don't get to go out and say to a working interpreter, why did you sign it that way? Or I've never seen it that way. Like,
you can
let's
ask
practice
it
a
in a
little bit
specific
of
way.
humility. Yeah, let's lead with curiosity and not judgment, because there's 5 ways to sign everything. And so we get students that are very by the book. Students love right and wrong, black and white,
I need
clear.
an
Like
answer.
they don't like gray.
Yes.
And so they come back. And so I understand why interpreters in those moments feel a little taken aback. I would hope they feel empowered to go, whoa,
Yes. Or
let's
yep.
back it up and talk about this. But I think instead they feel afraid. And then the reaction is that, like, what looks like eating our young. Then the reaction is like to put them in their place And now we have this like very unsupportive environment. But not everyone's trained to be a mentor either. Like we're asking people that are
Right.
just doing the work to mentor.
Right.
Not everyone is interested in that or knows how to.
Exactly. And this came up, one last thing, and then we'll wrap up. But this came up, and I liked Sarah's answer was like, I think we were doing a panel, and a student asked, well, what do you do if your team is new or your team says, I don't want a voice, I don't want to work into English? And we all give these nice answers of, well, we'll work together and we'll figure it out. And Sarah, I enjoyed your answer if you remember what you said.
I think I probably said I'd go ahead and do that shit. I
Yeah,
don't
I'll
care.
take it. You sit there quiet.
That sounds like something I would have said to that one.
Because it's true. Great. I trust my skills in this. It sucks that I got to do it myself, but okay, then you be quiet. I got it. Like,
Because at the end of the day, for me, it's not about me or how much work I put in. It's about, did my deaf client get the message that they wanted to get? Did they connect? You know
right.
what I mean? Like, I went to a job where, at the end, they were like, I've been to this conference 3 years in a row, and I never felt as connected as I felt this time. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yep.
That's what I'm looking for. I want to make sure that my deaf person knew everything that was going on and didn't miss a beat, or that they were represented
Mm-hmm.
appropriately. It didn't sound like a 5-year-old or a 10-year-old. They sounded
Yes.
like a grown, intelligent individual.
Yep.
I would rather do that and put it on myself
Yep.
and make sure that they get their thing than to be like, nah, you got to do it. No, if you're not confident in it, no, don't fuck up that shit for me. I'm good. I don't
Right.
want this stuff messed up, So yeah, that's all I mean.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yep.
on that note, Sarah, you also gave a comment when I thought you were going in
Oh
a
yeah.
different direction, which I love, which it kind of ties into the eating our young, but I feel like we have to be willing to have these kind of conversations with our team. Like I don't want to just grin and bear it for 2 hours and then later go to my people and be like, I hate that person. I don't want to work with them again. Like I have to at least try to go, hey, so can we do this differently? Or why are we not vibing here? Or maybe how do you feel if I voice and you sign? Or you know what I mean? Like
I take this
have those
person, I
conversations.
understand them, you understand them better. Like, I don't know why there's ego in
Right.
being like, I don't understand John. Can you take him? Cool. Thanks. Good God. Like, I
Of
don't know.
course.
Yeah.
Right. But we don't do that. Instead,
No.
we just sort of like stew.
I have to
And
do
then
everything
later we're
perfect.
upset about it. Right. And we're like, I can't work with that person again because they saw me make a mistake. Like it's just a weird. I just did a job the other day that was mostly voicing. And it was funny because I thought like I'm a pretty confident voicer, but there was like 9 deaf people on the call. So all different voices. And I'm voicing for one person. And mid sentence, my team jumped in and I was like, okay, like they
Mm,
obviously saw something I didn't see. Great. That's what my team is for. It's Zoom, so it wasn't like there's no good way to feed.
Hmm.
And then as soon as we had a break, they called me and we talked about it and it was like, "Oh, I thought they were going here. I thought you were going." And at one point my audio was a little I thought it was clear and it wasn't clear. But I was like, I could see in that moment I could be really offended right now, or I could be like, sweet, they're going to take over because obviously something was wrong. And nobody else had to know. Like it just, everything moved on smoothly. It didn't have to be a big ordeal. But that's also because this is somebody that I respect and we have a history of working together. And unfortunately, I just
about to
feel
say
like,
that you got to have a relationship to be able to do that, because in the
Hmm.
same breath, if I don't know you and you jumping up and taking over my spot and I'm not struggling, that's a problem.
And I'm not
You know
struggling.
what I
That's the
mean? So
key.
that's a sticky spot. So it would have to be
yeah,
with a colleague that you trust and respect, because they not trying to step on your toes, or they don't think they better than you. They see something that you didn't see or caught something you didn't catch. But you can't
yeah.
just be anybody, coming and I'm, voicing, and you just gonna take over, So
So to be
I want to
clear
make
though,
that clear for any newbies that might be listening to this.
Don't
this
just
was
hop.
this was a series of jobs and I was a sub for the last day. So this person
Oh,
had
okay,
Then
that makes
context
yes.
sense. Right, that
and
makes
someone
sense.
I'd worked with. But make no mistake, when he called, I was like, what just happened? Like, I wanted to, because I
Right.
was a little like, I
What
felt
I
like things were fine. And then it was like, well, your audio, blah, blah, blah. And then it was great. We had a respectful conversation about it. You have a history for the last 4 days that I don't have. I'm just here as a sub. I don't want you to let me drown if I think I'm doing
Right,
fine or if my
right.
audio is cutting out. Don't make the hearing people have to try to figure out. Like, absolutely. Um, and yeah, but I know of people. that though have done that and then not gotten jobs with those people anymore,
Because they
right?
didn't have that conversation after to I did that
Yes.
the other day. I jumped in and I fed my team I just threw the word because they missed the finger spelling. So I just threw the word out. I was wrong. They
Oh,
then asked for it. I was wrong. They
That's
asked
the
for it
best part.
again. And then I just messaged like, good God, my feed was not helpful. So sorry. Like admitting, whoops, like it's sorry. Like it's okay that we're not perfect, but yeah,
yeah. Well,
it,
and that, like when students watch you and people are afraid of students seeing them mess up, and I'm like, they need
that's the
that.
best
And we
part.
mess up all the time. I love standing in front of class and being like, I was so tired one day that when the hearing people said American Bar Association and they were talking about lawyers, I signed Bar Association. Like the students think it's funny, but I'm like, we screw up. And
Yep.
then you go, oh, okay, fix. Like that wasn't what was supposed to happen. There's a skill in fixing your mess ups because we mess up. Like I don't know anybody out who is perfect at what they do.
Yeah.
What you mean? Not just playing.
How?
I'm joking.
Well, all right. All right.
Stop playing, April.
I forgot, Sarah.
Sarah, can you mention one more time how people can find your group
Oh, Facebook. Yeah, just check me out on Facebook, Sarah Houston.
with an
It's a
H?
picture. I don't know. I think I'm taking a selfie. I got my hair up in a ponytail. Nope, I'm lying. That's not it. My profile picture says "fuck Trump" in ASL.
There we go.
That's what my picture is. So you can see it say "fuck Trump." That's me, Sarah
Perfect.
Houston. I come out of Michigan. Any interpreter, Black interpreters who are interested in the field, current students or current interpreters, or deaf people
Mhm.
are more than welcome to come. The link will be shared every month. I try to do it the Friday before, but it definitely is going to happen the day of on
I would
Saturday.
say I see a lot of like, oh shoot, we're still meeting.
Oh shit! I'll be busy, but yeah, I still make time. I make time for my people. So yeah, find me
Saturday.
on Facebook and come on in.
Awesome. Yeah, find Sarah as a good resource, a good way to connect. Um, and then I often ask guests to highlight a deaf-owned business or deaf organization. Who do you guys want to highlight today? I don't know how to
I
pronounce it,
usually bring
so
in Mastyl
Mast
signs.
Mastyl.
MASTY. It happens to be a combinations of names of the family.
Ah, that makes
So
sense.
it begins with dad's first two letters and then mom's first two letters, and then the last three letters are the son.
Nice.
So that's where the Mastyl signs. So they make signs of all sizes. They've made the signs for the Michigan School for the Deaf that's inside their building and stuff like that. Big signs, little signs, all types of signs they make. So that's Mark and Stevie Nayert. And they come out of Genesee County, Michigan. I'm not sure exactly. I don't think they're in Flint. So
Awesome. I'll put that link in the show notes so people can find that. But
awesome.
any last things you want to leave people with or last thoughts? You don't have to have any.
Hmm. Know your worth. Know your worth. I like that. Know your worth.
I like that. Yeah.
And talk to your colleagues. Like we're all in the same boat here. Talk to your colleagues.
Yeah.
Have the tough
Awesome.
conversations. They don't even have to be tough, but have the conversations.
Yeah. I appreciate you both. Thank you so much for coming on and
Yeah.
chit-chatting about the good stuff.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Not a problem.
Thanks so
Anytime.
much.